The Council gathering. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council floated in space just beyond a red sun. It was larger than any ship, built by dozens of species over hundreds of years. It looked like a great crystal ring spinning slowly, glowing, with light. Inside, leaders of the galaxy sat in high chairs, each one from a different world. The air buzzed with voices in many languages, translated by soft machines. But today, the voices were quiet. They were waiting. They were waiting for humans. Humanity had joined the Council only recently. Most of the galaxy didn't know what to make of them. Some thought they were too young. Some thought they were too bold. A few were afraid. But today the Council had called them to a special meeting. The reason? A new treaty. The Council had written a peace agreement for all species. It would limit how many weapons each world could have. It would share resources, and it would allow Council machines to monitor every planet for safety. It was all about peace, they said. But peace, for some, meant power. The humans entered quietly. There were 5 of them. No guards. No banners. No loud speeches. They wore simple clothes. Their eyes moved slowly, watching everything. They walked to their seat without saying a word. Council leader, Thalan, a tall being with thin silver skin, stood first. "Welcome, humans," he said. "We are pleased you have come. We hope you will sign this treaty today." The human in front, a man with short black hair, nodded. "We have read the terms," he said simply. A second council member, thick and red-skinned, added, "The rules are fair. All must obey. Even Earth." The room waited. The human looked down at the table. He placed the treaty tablet on it. He stared at it for a few seconds. Then slowly he stood. He said nothing. He turned and walked away. The others followed. No one stopped them. No one spoke. The humans walked out of the grand hall, step by step, like it was just another meeting. No shouting, no anger, just silence. The door closed behind them. For 10 full seconds the room stayed frozen. No one moved. No one breathed. Then whispers began. "What does this mean?" one voice asked. "Why did they walk out?" said another. "Do they reject the treaty?" Council leader Thalan sat down slowly. His hands shook. "They did not reject it," he said. "They didn't say anything," someone pointed out. Thalan looked around the hall. "Exactly. That's what makes it worse." Across the galaxy, fear began to grow. Something had changed, and everyone felt it. Before the walkout weeks before the council meeting, Earth's leaders sat in a quiet room deep underground. The walls were thick and gray, the air still. No cameras, no recordings. Only the top minds of humanity were present. Scientists, strategists, historians. One question echoed through the room. Should we go? They had been invited many times, to the Galactic Council. At first, Earth ignored it. Then they watched, they studied, they listened. Over time, they learned the truth. The Council spoke of peace, but their actions were different. Every species that joined lost something. Some gave up control of their armies. Some had to give up land. Some even lost parts of their culture. One species, once powerful, was now almost gone. They followed the Council's rules too closely and faded. Now, the same offer came to Earth. A treaty of peace, a promise of safety. But Earth knew better. One man sat at the edge of the long table. His name was Mark. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't loud. He just listened. He always listened. And that's why they picked him. "You'll go as our voice," the president told him, "but not to speak, not yet." Mark nodded. The Council expected Earth to come with fear. But Earth had no fear. It had seen too much. It had learned from war, loss, and struggle. Humanity was shaped by fire, and it never forgot. Mark spent the next few days meeting with others. He spoke with AI teams, fleet commanders, and Earth's Space Watch. Quietly, without notice, Earth began moving ships, not for war, but for position, just in case. He also met with historians. "We've always been the newcomers," one old woman said. "Even on our own planet, we crossed seas, skies, and stars, and we've always been told we don't belong, that we must follow, that we must kneel." She leaned forward. "But we never did." Mark understood. The Council believed they could control Earth. They thought humans wanted to be part of something bigger. But humans were something bigger, not because of size, but because of will. Earth didn't follow, it endured. The night before he left, Mark stood on a balcony. He looked out at the city below. Lights moved through the streets. Airships hovered in the sky. The stars above looked calm. But inside him, a storm grew. He remembered the Council's terms. Limit your weapons. Share your natural resources. Allow Council drones to monitor all communication. Use only approved AI. Surrender ship routes for safety reviews. It wasn't peace, it was control. Back inside, he sent one last message to the leadership. "If they try to cage us, I will walk. No anger, no threat. Just a step into the silence and they will know." When Mark boarded the shuttle, a single escort came with him, an older pilot named Dan. Dan didn't speak much either. He just smiled, shook Mark's hand, and said, "Say what needs saying, or don't." As they left Earth's orbit, a quiet pulse went through Earth's systems. Satellites realigned, fleets adjusted, communications shifted to deep encryption. Earth was not planning war, but it would not be caught off guard. The ship entered Council space. Dan leaned back in his seat. "You think they know what's coming?" he asked. Mark shook his head. "They think we'll ask for a place at their table," Dan smiled. "And we brought our own table." The grand hall waited. Alien leaders stood ready with speeches and smiles, but they didn't understand. They had seen many races before, but not one like this. Humanity didn't come to argue. It came to listen and to decide. Back on Earth, people watched quietly from command rooms. Not cheering, not waving flags, just waiting, because they all knew what Mark had said before leaving. If we walk away, it's not because we fear them. It's because we want them to feel what they've made. Silence is the loudest answer. And so the plan was simple. No threat, no war cry, just walk. Alien panic. The silence after the humans walked out didn't last long. At first, the Council leaders sat frozen. Then the whispers started. Words in many alien languages filled the air fast and sharp. Some tried to calm the room. Others raised their voices in panic. No one knew what to do. "They left without a word," said a tall, green-skinned leader. "No message. No explanation," said another. "They refused the treaty," someone shouted. "No," Council leader Thalen answered. "They didn't refuse. They just walked away." That was what made it worse. Refusal could be debated. Silence could not. One by one, members of the Council began reviewing footage. They watched the human representative rise, place the treaty down, and walk out. No emotion. No anger. Just quiet. Power. The moment repeated again and again on every screen in the chamber. In the corner, a small drone buzzed quietly. It belonged to a scout from the outer systems. It sent data directly to its homeworld. The message was short. Human delegation, left without a statement, Council shaken, fear levels rising. Soon, similar reports flew across the galaxy. On the outer edges of the Council's reach, commanders on distant stations read the updates and felt cold unease. Humans were not like the others. They didn't shout or threaten, but they moved with purpose. Quiet purpose. A few races had tried to study Earth's military before. What they found didn't fit the usual pattern. Humans had fewer ships, fewer bases, but their designs were strange. Adaptive. Fast. Some even seemed to think. And now, those ships were changing formation. A silent shift across the galaxy. No announcement. No reason. just movement. The council called an emergency meeting. Leader Thalen stood once again. He tried to stay calm, but his voice trembled. "We must not overreact," he said. "Perhaps this is their way of rejecting the treaty." A large armored creature from the warlike Gornak species growled. "Then why did they not say so? Why leave in silence?" A cold voice answered from the shadows. "Because they want us to think, to fear." It came from a quiet member of the council, one who rarely spoke. She belonged to a small, long-lived race known for seeing patterns in politics. Her eyes glowed faintly as she looked at the others. They came knowing what this treaty was. They came prepared. And they left not in anger, but in warning. The chamber grew cold. Another leader, pale and with smooth skin like glass, spoke, softly. "Their ships are moving. Not toward us. Not away. Just adjusting." "What are they doing?" someone asked. "Watching," she said. "Preparing." One assistant, a young alien from the outer colonies, sent a message to his homeworld. Humans did not argue, they did not fight, they just walked out. And we are the ones afraid. Back in the council chambers, some members tried to push a new vote, send another message to Earth, invite them again, change the treaty, offer more freedom. Others said it was too late. Still others whispered darker ideas. Strike now, before they build more. Show strength before they turn against us. Take control of their systems while we still can. But none of them moved, because deep down, they all felt it. Humans hadn't come to make deals. They had come to judge, and their silence said everything. In one distant sector, a group of ships moved silently through a dark stretch of space. They carried no flags, no lights, only the symbol of Earth. Simple, clean and unafraid. They didn't fire a shot. They didn't send a signal, but the stars themselves seemed to grow quieter as they passed. Back at the council, Leader Thalen finally spoke again. "If they walked out to make a point, then we've heard it?" Someone asked, "What do we do now?" He looked down at the treaty still glowing on the table. "We wait." Across the galaxy, hundreds of species looked toward Earth. Not with hope, not with hatred, but with something far deeper. Respect and fear. Because now they understood. The humans had not come to follow. They had come to watch. And the council had failed their test. Council secrets unveiled. In a quiet, dim hallway of the Galactic Council's central station, a young assistant named Relo walked quickly, carrying a tablet close to his chest. He wasn't important, not yet. His job was simple: record minutes, update files, and make sure his superior had fresh reports during meetings. But today, Rilo was afraid. After the humans walked out, everything changed. The older council members whispered constantly. Doors were locked more often. Schedules shifted without notice. Security doubled. And the word human was spoken carefully, like it could bite. Something was wrong. Rilo wasn't supposed to ask questions. But questions burned in his mind. He had heard of Earth. He had even studied their early history. What he had seen was strange. Humans were not the most advanced, not the oldest, not the richest. But they survived when others fell. Again and again. He decided to search the archives. The public council records were clean, too clean. Every species listed had joined the council and benefited from peace. But Relo had access to low-level classified files. He wasn't allowed to open them without permission. He opened them anyway. The deeper he looked, the more confused he became. There were dozens of hidden reports, secret meetings, plans that had never been discussed in public. He found something. Called Protocol Silence, the file was old, over 50 years. It detailed the Council's plan for controlling unstable or unpredictable species. His hands shook as he read. Step 1. Invite with promises of peace. Step 2. Limit weapons and AI use. Step 3. Send monitors to gather internal data. Step 4. Remove cultural leaders quietly. Step 5. Encourage dependence on council systems. Step 6. If resistance remains, isolate or dissolve leadership. Species were not asked to join the council. They were absorbed. Some didn't even realize what had happened until they were powerless. Relo looked at one final file. Target list. High-risk species at the top was humans, not because they were dangerous now, but because they might be. The council feared potential more than power. And the humans? They had both. Suddenly, Relo understood everything. The treaty Earth was asked to sign wasn't about peace. It was a trap, wrapped in kind words. The council believed if they moved slowly, the humans wouldn't notice. But they had, and that meant something worse. The humans knew before they arrived. Relo's screen blinked. A new report came in from long-range observers. Earth's satellite net has changed configuration. Civilian access to external signals restricted. Military channels, now silent. He felt a chill. Earth wasn't reacting to the council's response. It was already ahead. Relo rushed back to his station, his mind racing. He had to tell someone. But who would believe a low-ranking assistant? Most of the leaders were still debating whether Earth's silence was a mistake or a plan. He knew the answer now. It was a plan. Across the station, Council Leader Thalon sat alone in his chamber. The lights were dim. He replayed the moment over and over, the human delegate rising, leaving without emotion. He wasn't angry. That was what haunted Thalon the most. He was calm. Thalon's old advisor entered quietly. There is movement on the outer fleets. Human ships are no longer in traditional patterns. Thalon nodded slowly. They are sending a message, just not in words. What do we do? The advisor asked. Thalon looked at the treaty still lying on his desk. We underestimated them. The advisor hesitated. Should we stop the protocols? Thalon closed his eyes. It may be too late. Relo stood outside the door, heart pounding, the stolen file still in his hand. If the humans knew all this, then their silence wasn't fear. It was power. They hadn't come to learn about the council. They had come to confirm what they already suspected, and now they were gone. Back on Earth, Mark sat quietly in a high tower overlooking the ocean. Messages came in every few minutes from across the solar system. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. The council hadn't responded yet, not with threats, not with promises, just silence. He turned to his assistant. Do they know what we know? The assistant shook his head. No, but they're starting to guess. Mark stared at the horizon. Then they're already too late. Earth's silent mobilization. The stars above Earth looked peaceful, but inside the command centers spread across the planet. Everything was moving. There were no alarms. No panic. No loud orders. Just quiet activity. Screens lit up with new formations. Commands were passed in coded signals. Ships began to shift from orbit to deep patrol routes. Satellites turned their sensors outward, focusing on the edges of known space. The sky wasn't at war, but it was no longer resting. Earth had entered a different state. Readiness. In the sky above Asia, a fleet of sleek silver ships floated quietly. Their engines glowed blue, not from fuel, but from smart AI systems running silent movement protocols. They didn't need to speak. They knew what they were doing. On the moon base, engineers replaced every council-linked system with Earth-made backups. No foreign software remained. Nothing that could be tracked or switched off from the outside. Earth was closing its doors, but keeping its eyes wide open. At the United Command Tower in Central Earth, Mark stood in front of a round table. Around him were leaders from science, defense, and strategy. They all wore simple gray uniforms. No ranks were shown. On Earth, rank was earned by decisions, not titles. A map of the galaxy hovered in the air above the table. Lines stretched from Earth to the outer colonies. Dots glowed where ships now moved, each one following a silent path. We haven't said anything yet, one of the commanders said. The council keeps sending messages. Mark nodded. Let them. Should we respond? No. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then Mark spoke again. They offered us control, wrapped it in peace. They thought we would be thankful. They think silence means we're afraid, one woman said. Mark turned to face the others. Let's show them what silence really means. From Earth's colonies on Mars, Titan, and the outer moons, the message was clear. Shields were raised. Signals were reduced to tight beam transmissions. Civilian traffic was slowed. Every move was calm and measured. There was no war, but there was intention. The Council was still watching. From their long-range sensors, they could see the changes. What they didn't understand was why it felt so coordinated, so fast, so prepared. Some members believed humanity was bluffing. Others were beginning to realize they weren't. On Council Station 9, a respected elder named Cora sent a private message to her homeworld. They have planned this for years. We just didn't see it. They don't fear us. They have simply decided they don't need us. Back on Earth, Mark met with the AI development heads. These weren't machines with voices or faces. These were quiet minds deep in networks working side by side with human teams. They had helped design Earth's fleet. They had made machines think like people, but without ego. One of the engineers gave a short report. The Council wanted to limit our AI, make us use their versions. Mark raised an eyebrow. And if we had? They would have known everything, controlled our thoughts, systems maybe. But now? The engineer smiled slightly. Now we're invisible to them. Earth's AI systems were built to be unreadable to outside observers. No common coding language, no shared structure. Each one was unique and isolated. One AI, simply called Node 7, monitored Council response patterns. It calculated fear levels based on message tone, transmission frequency, and ship movement. Its result was simple: Council fear level, 82%. Rising, but Earth didn't celebrate. No speeches, no parades, no threats sent back. The silence continued. Only one message had gone out from Earth since the walkout. A short one, sent directly to the Council's highest channel. It had no greeting, no name, just one sentence. We came to listen. We heard enough. And then, nothing. The Council had sent back a dozen messages. Earth answered none. On one Council world, a group of young students asked their teacher why the humans were so quiet. The teacher paused, then said, "Because they don't need to shout. The galaxy is already listening." In Earth's orbit, another fleet joined the formation. New ships, fresh from hidden docks. Their hulls reflected no light, no name, no flag. Just clean metal, sharp, watching. Earth wasn't preparing to attack. It was preparing for something greater. Freedom. Not the kind given by permission, but the kind taken by choice. And the galaxy had never seen anything like it. The standstill, the Galactic Council sat in silence. For days now, Earth had said nothing. Not a single word. No reply to messages, no movement toward talks, no warning signs of war. But somehow, the silence felt louder than any weapon. The Council chamber was full, but the voices were low, nervous, tired. Every member watched the central display screen, which showed the growing positions of Earth's fleets. They weren't moving in, they weren't moving out. They were just there. And that scared everyone. "They're not threatening us," one leader whispered. "But they're not leaving either," another replied. Council leader Thalen stood up. His face looked older than it had just a week ago. He had barely slept. "We must make a decision," he said. "We can't let this silence continue." An angry voice from the side shouted, "Then strike first. If they're building something, stop it now." The room grew tense. "No," said a deep voice from the far end. "We strike, we lose everything." Thalen raised a hand. "If we fire first, the other species will see us as the threat. And if humans respond..." He didn't need to finish that sentence. Everyone in the room remembered what Earth had done in the past. On their own world, they had faced invasion, storms, disasters, yet they kept rising. Now they were in space, and still no one knew how far they were willing to go. One alien leaned forward. They're building new weapons. We know it, another said. They're not attacking. Maybe they're just protecting themselves. Someone else added. Or they're waiting for us to make a mistake. In private, some council members talked about fear openly for the first time. They no longer feared Earth's ships, they feared Earth's thinking. The humans had walked into a room full of power, said nothing, and left. And now every species was watching them. Several outer planets had already slowed their talks with the Council. A few minor systems refused patrol visits. Some small alliances asked Earth for trade agreements, quietly, in secret. The galaxy was shifting, and Earth hadn't fired a single shot. In the command center on Earth, Mark stood before a screen, reading. The latest Council movements, they're holding their fleets back, said a tech officer. Almost like they're afraid we'll misread them. Mark nodded slowly. They should be. Should we push forward? The officer asked. No, Mark said. Let them guess. On a Council research station near the rim of the galaxy, a scientist studied Earth's behavior. Her name was Tira, and she wasn't afraid of humans. She was fascinated by them. She had tracked Earth's history for years, and now with everything unfolding she made a report. They do not threaten, they prepare, they do not speak, they act, they do not ask, they walk. The silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of power. Her report reached several neutral species. One sent a message to Earth. We are watching. We respect your silence. Earth didn't answer. That only made the message stronger. Back in the Council chamber, desperation began to take root. Some leaders begged for another vote. Change the treaty. Let them keep their AI. Remove the surveillance terms. Give them more freedom. But the old guards refused. If we bend now, they said, we lose control. Thalen listened. Then he finally spoke. We already lost control the moment they stood up. His words were soft, but they hit the room hard. Outside the Council, rumors spread. Whispers on trade routes. Strange messages from deep space. Ships disappearing, then reappearing weeks later. Changed. Something was happening in the shadows of the galaxy, and everyone knew who was behind it, Earth. But no one could prove anything because Earth wasn't acting loud, it was acting smart. Inside a dark observation chamber above Council space, a quiet message blinked on a small screen. Stand still. Holding. No human messages. Galaxy watching. The standstill was now a test. Who would blink first? Who would speak? Who would move? And what would happen when they did? A new order months passed. The silence remained. The Council kept sending offers, treaties, rewritten, promises made, even requests for private talks. Earth didn't answer a single one. Not with words. Instead, their ships appeared near Council borders. Massive vessels, smooth and silent, holding position. No lights, no symbols. Just presence. They didn't cross the line, they didn't fire weapons, they only watched. Every time one of those ships arrived, local systems fell quiet. Council patrols pulled back. Trade slowed, and fear spread. Earth had done nothing, and yet everything had changed. In the outer colonies of the Council, debates broke out. Leaders began to question if staying under Council rule was still wise. Some systems closed their ports to Council drones. Others voted to withdraw quietly, seeking independence. They didn't say it out loud, but everyone knew why. They had seen what Earth did, and more importantly, they had seen how Earth did it. One planet, not the largest, not the oldest, had shifted the balance of the galaxy by walking out. On Earth, in a small chamber beneath the capital, Mark sat alone. The room was dark, quiet. A screen in front of him showed Council space. Dots blinked slowly. Human ships, Earth colonies, outer world watchers. The silence had worked. No need for war, no need for threats. Earth had simply stepped away, and the galaxy had followed with their eyes wide open. An officer entered. Another Council message arrived. They request a neutral meeting. Equal terms. Mark looked at the screen again. Location? They asked to meet halfway. No leaders, no demands, no terms written in advance. Mark nodded. That was the signal. They had finally understood. On the other side of the galaxy in the council hall, Leader Thalen stood before the remaining members. His face was pale. His voice was soft. "They will not come to us," he said. "If we want peace, we must meet them where they stand." A few leaders protested. They rejected us. They ignored us. They humiliated us. Thalen looked around the room. No, they freed themselves, and now they are showing the galaxy what that looks like. The vote passed. The council sent one final message. It was only 6 words long. "Let us begin again. Together." The reply came, not as a message, but as movement. 3 Earth ships entered neutral space. They hovered there, waiting. Not close, not far, just present. A ship from the council approached slowly, smaller, older. It paused at a respectful distance. The humans did not fire. They did not speak. But the council ship opened a channel, and this time, Earth responded. Not with threats, not with pride. Just one simple voice, clear and calm. "We accept peace. As equals." Across the stars, things began to change. The council no longer demanded submission. They requested cooperation. The word treaty became understanding. The word control became choice, and Earth became something new. Not a ruler, not a conqueror, but a quiet center that others looked to when they no longer trusted old powers. Some called it strength. Some called it courage. But most called it what it truly was: humanity. Because when the moment came to kneel, they stood. When asked to follow, they walked away, and in doing so they spoke the loudest words the galaxy had ever heard. "We are not afraid of your rules. We have our own, and we will keep walking until others are free to walk too." And so, a new order rose. Not from war, not from noise, but from the sound of footsteps, echoing into a future no longer shaped by fear.